I'll take you home.
Hello and welcome to the Help My Unbelief podcast, the number one Christian podcast designed for the unbeliever. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Help My Unbelief podcast, which is the number one podcast designed for you, the unbeliever, or even if you're not an unbeliever and you're just tuning in to listen to a Christian podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I'm here with my co-host, Larry. I call him Lair Bear. Can I call you Lair Bear?
No.
Okay. Well, we are so excited to bring you this this network, this podcast that is designed for an unbeliever, a person that doesn't believe in God. I feel like in Christian media, there's this big hole, and I've talked to you about this so many times, but I just want to keep saying that like, I want to make it clear I'm not talking crap on Christian media. I'm not saying anything bad because I think it is necessary, and I think it's necessary in bulk. So. But what you don't see is you see in Christian media that it's always designed for a person that already believes in God. And so I wanted to design a network that for a person that doesn't believe in God, or for a person that like now, you know what I'm seeing a lot of that didn't really, you either did believe in God back in the day or you didn't. But now you're getting a lot of people that's like, oh, I've just never really even thought about it. Like it's not even a thought in their head whether a God exists or not. So this podcast is designed for you, the person that's struggling in your faith, that doesn't believe that God exists, an agnostic or anything else. If you believe in a different religion other than Christianity, we want to talk to you. We just want to interview you. We don't want to debate you. We don't want to drag you down, argue or anything. So we just want to talk to you. We want to interview. We want to hear your story. And so we're going to be reaching out to a bunch of people. But this week, it's going to be for you to get to know your hosts, me and Larry. My name's Zach, by the way, if you don't know me, which most of you do because I'm super famous. But
I'm a whole lot less famous, but they call me Larry.
I have 1,200 followers on TikTok. Thank you.
And I have none.
Well, you're going to.
That's why I got so excited about this when Zach came to me, is simply because I do really like to witness to people. I like to share God's love with others as we go throughout the day, just a normal day.
You really do.
God gives me an opportunity to share his love each and every day. My wife and I do pray together in the morning before she goes to work. She's got to be there like 5:30 in the morning. So we pray really early before we start our day that God gives us an opportunity to share his love through every day.
Yeah.
And he has given us opportunity after opportunity.
Yeah.
So it's an amazing.
What's cool about this, what I love the most, and we just prayed about this, is I just found this about you the other day, which by the way, Larry and I would consider Larry my friend now, but we haven't known each other for very long. And over the course of the last month that we've been getting to know each other, I've purposely stopped any conversation about his or my testimony about how we came to know God or anything, because I wanted that conversation to be here today and authentic. So, because I don't like having a conversation twice unless it is authentic, unless we do rehash something if it's designed that way. But like, I'm genuinely excited to get to know you more today because we've purposely, and it's almost like, you ever watched a fight or something like a hype, like a boxing match or something, and they have those pre-tapes and they hype it up for a month? That kind of feels like this now. Like, I'm excited that we get the opportunity. Like, we don't have any rules now. We can get to know each other, and it's going to be done right here.
Well, the weird thing is finding out that we have a lot of connections that we didn't even know about having.
I know. I worked with your son-in-law. That's crazy. We had one more too, didn't we?
You have one with Brandon, which is a friend of mine as well from our church.
Yeah, Brandon Crow.
We both go to the same church, and it's pretty amazing that God sent you to talk to me before we ever even knew that we had a connection.
Yeah.
Or an opportunity to, I don't know anything about doing these podcasts, or I'll say all the old words like on air. He reminds me of that. He's a lot younger than I am.
Yeah.
He's same age as my kids.
Well, he reminds me that I'm a lot shorter than he is too. I mean, how this started for me is I've been producing podcasts. There, some of you, I'm sure, are going to know me from the past. Some of you are going to come over from things that I've done in the past, and I thank you for that. You guys mean the world to me for being loyal and coming over and following me and what I've done and into this, because I know some of you are going to be here from that. But even me and my wife talked before, whenever I was producing these podcasts for other people or doing my own worldly podcast. I was like, maybe God's, because I taught myself how to do all this, like from the internet and stuff. You can ask my wife, like there was at one point I didn't know. I was like, this is so difficult learning how to read audio waves and stuff like that. It's just, I was like, I told my wife, I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And I was like, well, maybe God's wanting me to learn this so I can do a Christian podcast someday. And then what is it? 3-4 years later, we're sitting here today doing it.
Actually doing a Christian podcast.
Yeah. And God woke me up in the middle of the night several months ago. I don't know how many months ago, but several months ago. And I went and wrote down in a notebook, the Help My Unbelief podcast. And here we are. And it's just, I didn't know that it was going to be designed for an unbeliever at the time. It materialized more recently, that did. So I don't know, man. I'm just, like I said, I'm just so excited. I think it's probably going to get ugly. We're going to be in a war zone sometimes, but that's the thing I don't want to do is, a lot of atheists and Christians, well, anybody that's on two separate sides of any ball field whatsoever. I mean, even when I was a cop, right? Deputies and police officers, you weren't supposed to get along because you're like in two different, like, you know, it's weird. I know, but, a lot of them didn't get along, or highway patrol and city cops didn't really get along all the time. So, I can see that there's probably going to be some sort of division between us and atheists or people who don't believe. But I want to, my goal is to show you that we're all on the same team. We're all on the same team. We're all just trying to do what's best. And nobody wants to go to hell. Nobody wants to live in torment or be hurt. Nobody wants to do the wrong thing. Everybody wants to do the right thing. I think that's true, right? That everybody at least
it's actually embedded in you from birth, in all honesty.
Yeah.
You know, that was part of what God actually put in you.
Yeah.
Is to do the right thing. Where it comes into the wrong side is our own personal nature.
Our own desires, yeah.
Yeah. Our desires, our sinful desires, and then our pride and our will start stepping in on that. And it kind of takes us away from that.
Yeah. So I genuinely believe that we're going to be able to make friends with a lot of atheists, a lot of unbelievers, and hopefully we can show you that there is evidence that our God exists, that Jesus exists, and the fact that he is still alive and he is going to come back someday and reign. And we hope you can convince of that, because we feel like there's overwhelming evidence that it is the absolute truth. And but we're like I said, we're not going to hammer that on you either. You know what I mean? We're just going to have a conversation with you. Yep. And we're going to tell you how we came to know it and things that we've learned. And then if you come with us, great. But you're going to have to decide on your own, because I'm not going to beat it. I'm not going to beat you with it. So anyway, with that being said, welcome to the show. We're not going to mess around anymore. We're going to get started. We're going to go to war. We're going to get started here. So I want to take this time to get to know Larry now, and he get to know me. So I want to know first, how long have you been a Christian?
I was raised in the church.
Okay.
I can actually say I went to the church before I was born, because my mom went to church while she was pregnant with me. So I was raised in the church. The first 18 years of my life was in the church. And, of course, you know, I got married at 18. I moved out of the house, did my thing.
You got married at 18?
I got married 11 days after I turned 18.
So you were dating the girl before that, obviously, right?
Yeah.
And then you're just waiting for you to be 18, and then boom, you got like...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she was our... we went to the same school.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
High school sweetheart.
Yeah. We met in October of my senior year.
Oh, good Lord. That was quick, huh?
Yeah.
Probably why it didn't work,
yeah,
huh?
that's probably why it didn't work. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it did work. I mean, if you stop and think about it, it did work. I have 2 daughters, and I couldn't do without.
Philosophical. You just got philosophical on me.
Mhm.
It did work. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So
see, it worked for God's benefit that I didn't even realize at that time. But
So-
we won't go there.
you fell away for a little while from the faith.
Went after
I take
my own
it.
thing.
Yeah. So how like when did you start kind of falling away from God, or did you always believe you were saved, or that you were a Christian and stuff, or like what was the thought process, or did you forget about God for a while? Like, take me through what happened when you started to fall away. What did that look like?
Man, my own desires, big time. I was awarded the opportunity to become a manager at I don't want to say the company's name, but at a pizza place.
At a pizza place.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I started off right after I turned 18. Now I got my apartment. We just got married. I mean, it's like fast. I got a job as a manager at a pizza place, went through the training, and headed off to. They actually gave me maybe assistant manager at a town far away from mom. So now I'm away from mom. I'm away from her influence. My dad. I'm away from him.
Where they helped you stay together, essentially, like keep you like good, I should say. Did they help you keep you good when they were around?
Yeah, mom.
Were they like hardcore Christians?
I'll see you at church. Oh, yes, very much so.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah, dad was the Sunday school superintendent. Mom was a Christian mother that stayed home.
Nice.
So, when counselors called her from school, she knew which child instantly, and they called her by her first name.
So you started working at this pizza place, and you moved away from them, and then
we moved to another city, 85 miles away. So I had work to do. I started the first thing really that started interfering was working on Sunday. When I was living at home, Mom never allowed us to work on Sunday, period.
No matter what, yeah.
That was a period thing. I mean, nothing. You didn't
Okay.
work during school, and you didn't work,
Yeah,
at that time. So,
of course.
So the first thing is, as a manager, you work on Sunday. Especially, I was an assistant manager, not a manager, but at that time. So here I thought everything was going great. So you start getting prideful. You start getting full of yourself, full of your own abilities. And Mom, when she talked to me on the phone, this was before cell phones, and long distance was a real thing. So it cost me a lot of money to call and talk to Mom. I'm just going to tell you.
So you hardly talked to her. That's crazy. Yeah.
We'd come up to the city every once in a while to visit her parents and my parents, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Then through the process of moving back to Oklahoma City, they transferred me back to Oklahoma City. Situations, the way we got married wasn't really all that great. I switched I got out of that job and started doing stonemason for a while. And actually, no, I went to another place as a manager. I'm trying to figure this all in my head. You kind of caught me off guard. I didn't prepare. So I'm just going to skip over some stuff. My first wife and I decided to go our separate ways. She brought me the paperwork for, because we didn't have kids at the time. So
how old were you when you guys separated? How old were you, do you think?
20.
Now you're married again. So how long have you been married to her? Darcia, how long have you been married? Yeah.
We have been married 8.5 years.
Oh, nice. Okay, so
Yeah, we've been together like 14.
So, and you've mentioned to me before, this is how I know it. So you developed an alcohol problem, correct? You developed an alcohol problem, and that's kind of what pulled you away from God.
Developed a like for alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah.
At that time,
I'm not trying to catch anything because I had one too.
At that time, it wasn't out of control. At
Okay.
that time, it was
When you were married to your first one, yeah.
But back then, through the first marriage, I was pretty heavy into marijuana, which at that time was not as rampant as it is now legally.
It's probably marijuana is probably the most accepted drug, right?
Now,
Even now.
Yeah, other than prescription drugs. But back then it was, trying to reveal myself without it doesn't really matter. It's part of my testimony.
I want the audience to know that
the actual fact of that was I started smoking a little bit of dope in high school, and then it progressed to where I'm in my own house. I'm under my own control. I smoked it in the morning before I went anywhere. I smoked it at lunchtime. I smoked it during the evening and before I went to bed. So pretty much I was never not high. But I operated in that frame, so I was a functional addict.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, and I can say that some of the stuff back then probably wasn't nearly as strong as it is now.
No,
because
it's not.
We didn't have chemical enhancements back then. So through all of this, P-tests weren't that big of a deal back then. They were just now starting to come on, urinalysis tests were not that prevalent.
You can say P-test. It sounds way better. Urination analysis sounds super boring. This is a podcast. We say P-test. Yeah.
So I didn't really have to hide it until my first wife and I split up. And when we split up, she brought me the divorce paperwork, and we went to the tag agency, and they notarized my signature. And then it wasn't shortly after that I got a girlfriend, and then got in a lot of trouble. And
wait, you got in trouble? You went to jail?
No, not at that time. No.
Okay, I'm going to explain something to you for all the viewers. Okay, Larry's never been on a podcast ever in his entire life, so he is literally bearing his soul we're in a church right now recording this.
We're in our church right now.
And he's bearing his soul to people he doesn't know. He doesn't know you from Adam. In fact, there's probably several of you that I don't know from Adam. And so you got to remember, he's doing really well for being on podcast the first time. So we got to give him a minute, because he's looking at me like, I can't believe you're asking me this on air, but give him a minute. We'll get it out of him.
Yeah,
we'll get it out of him.
It works. The girlfriend that I had a lust for somebody else. And here's the thing. I was consumed by lust. I can see this now. I couldn't see that then. So I was a stoner that was consumed by lust. And I drank a lot. That kind of covers several of y'all out there. Just trust me. But I wasn't going forward with a lot of different avenues that I should have. Like I should have gone to college or whatever. So I decided at the breakup of this particular girlfriend, and I had just gotten through a divorce. So I was like, man, I just want to get out of here for a while. So I did what every 21-year-old by that time kind of does when they get overwhelmed. I wanted to get out of the state, but I had to be paid for getting out of the state. So I joined the Air Force Reserves.
Ah, yeah.
Went to basic. And I did a lot of experimental drugs so that I could say I did just before I went to basic, so that,
you did the hallucinogens and all that stuff.
Yeah. Set a new record on Defender, which was a video game back then.
On acid?
Cranked out, yes. Cranked out.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I've never done hallucinogens, and there's a reason why I haven't. It's because I have like an anxious demeanor, and I know for a fact I would have been like scary zombies and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was a little hard to handle back then.
Really?
Just a tad.
Were you an arrogant guy back then?
Oh, very much so. No, I was not conceited at all. I was convinced. There's a difference.
Okay. There you go.
Or at least in my mindset.
Yeah.
I was pretty bad.
Yeah, so you got on a bunch of drugs.
My hair was down about mid-back.
In the Air Force?
No.
You had to cut your hair then, right?
This was just before I stepped
Okay, so you go to the Air Force, you're doing a bunch of drugs in the Air Force. Now what?
Well, no. Let's not say I did a bunch of drugs in the Air Force. I did a bunch of drugs, and then I went to basic.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And then I went to tech school.
Statute of limitations is past. The Air Force isn't going to
no. But it does matter, because I did the drugs knowing that I wasn't ever going to get a chance to do them again.
Right, because the Air Force is going to lock you down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I wasn't thinking about God during that time. I was thinking about the next girl, and I was thinking about, well, I just locked myself up for 6 weeks in basic, and then I had 13 weeks of tech school.
Isn't it funny how you're right in the middle of your sin and stuff, and you don't think about God, but then every now and then you think about God, and you go, "Oh yeah, I'm a Christian. I forgot." And then you grace pass and go, "I wonder if this is okay what I'm doing."
Yeah,
it's
man.
like, no, probably not. Let's go.
No. God was the furthest from my mind at that time. It was all about me. And so I got down to basic, and in high school, I played a trumpet. And that plays into this, that in basic, they asked us if we played an instrument. I said I played a trumpet, so they sent me to a different flight and made me part of the drum and bugle corps.
Okay.
So in the drum and bugle corps, in basic, the whole idea behind basic is they separate men from women, period. Okay?
Uh-huh.
So you're 6 weeks without any women around, and they put me in a flight with women. Because in the drum and bugle corps, it's co-ed. At that time, this is 83, beginning of 83, January. And when they put me in the drum and bugle corps, we have a whole, 7-8 women that are in that as well.
Yeah.
So I never had the separation from women other than, there were rules and regulations that we really had to be careful on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we could go dance when we had our downtime. We couldn't drink. And I say drink.
Why'd you do that? Because you could drink, but you couldn't just get wasted.
No, you couldn't drink.
Oh, but you did. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I got you.
I definitely did.
Okay.
You couldn't go off base, but they did have an airman's club that we were allowed to go to. So we could dance, but we weren't allowed to touch. And there were literally people around us that made sure that you didn't touch. So I showed a lot of women I showed several women, not a lot. I showed several women how to dance without touching.
What is that? Okay, what are you getting at here?
There wasn't very much space in between us.
Okay, gotcha.
And I wasn't that good of a dancer, but I was older than all these. See, I'm 21. 2021.
Do you have kids?
Time.
You had kids at this point?
Most of these girls and guys were 18 years old.
Yeah.
So I was like one of the old people.
Did you have kids at this point
No.
in the Air Force? No, not yet? Okay.
Not yet, no.
Cool.
And
then,
my first daughter was born in 84, though.
Really?
February.
Me, 85.
I'll explain that here in a minute.
Okay, so you're in the Air Force. You're doing a bunch of drugs. God was farthest from your mind. So then what? You get out of the Air Force?
Well, I went to basic, and then I went to tech school.
Yeah, for your job.
There's more women, and you're able to, after first 2 weeks there, after basic, then you're able to go off base and stuff like that.
So far we're at drugs, alcohol, and women.
Now I'm a long way. I'm in a different state from my mom.
Yeah.
I'm older than most of the people around me. I'm more experienced than every one of them around me, with the exception of a couple of people that were being retrained into my career field. Because I entered a critical career field, I'm actually above them in rank as well.
Oh.
So
nice.
It's like bang, 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 way too much fun.
Yeah.
Way too much. It's
so far,
it's like what I hear about people going to college.
Yeah.
And kind of going
except on
crazy.
Steroids, yeah.
I'm kind of crazy in the military.
So far we're at drugs, alcohol, and women. So like by the time we get to my testimony, I'm just going to be like samesies, because it's just like it sounds like.
Well, it's typically what you find yourself doing as a young person.
Yeah.
Finding yourself. And
yeah.
Some of us, it takes a whole long time.
Oh, man. Like, that's the thing about me that I keep telling people is like, I'm 37 years old, and I feel like just now I'm starting to be like, time to grow up.
Yep.
It's like I'm already halfway through my life. It's like, man.
Well, when I come back to Oklahoma after tech school, I actually bought a car so that I could drive, because I don't like to fly. It's not like I panic or anything. It's just I'm a control freak, and I'm not in control.
You don't like, yep.
So I don't like to fly.
Same way, dude.
Okay. So I bought a car, and I drove it home.
Yeah.
And I had been talking to my parents every week or so. I'd make a phone call from the payphones up there and talk to them. And my ex-wife, because I'd signed the paperwork, my ex-wife would be there sometimes with my younger sister, and she would be on the phone talking to me. And we had agreed that I already had a job lined up that I had before I left. This is a few days less than 6 months that I've been gone. I know that I have a job, and I just didn't have a place to stay. So she said, well, why don't you just stay with me until you get a place? Right?
Yeah.
Hey, it's like bouncing back in with an ex-girlfriend, right? So,
We all know where this is going.
Ain't no
Okay.
big thing. Yeah, right. So apparently she got pregnant with my oldest daughter in the first week I was home.
It's possible.
Well, it was a panic mode for me,
Yeah.
because I'm like, I didn't think I could have kids. I really honestly did not think I could have kids. And to back this
Why?
up
Because you had sex
neither-
with so many
neither
females?
one of my brothers have children because they can't. And I honestly thought that I could not.
You thought you couldn't because you had sex with so many females and nobody
I
got
did-
pregnant and stuff
yeah,
like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so then you got pregnant with her. So then you guys decided, do you guys get married again?
That is when she tells me she actually never filed the paperwork that I signed. So I had never actually been divorced.
Ah.
So what do we do?
You just stayed married.
Yeah, we stayed married.
And then you had how many kids with her?
2.
2?
Yeah. Desiree, I don't mean to give her out her name. My second one came just shortly after that.
Yeah.
She was born in 85.
Hey, just to let you know, you might as well be as open as you can on here, even names and stuff, because if people really wanted to find it out, they would.
Yeah, well,
That's why
I
I'll say.
haven't talked to them about this yet. So,
Oh, you haven't?
yeah, no. They don't know that Dad's doing this right now.
Okay, so you have 2 kids total, though, right?
And we were together about 7 years before we ended up getting a divorce.
An actual divorce,
An actual
right?
divorce, yes.
And then, so how long after you got a divorce from her did you meet Darcia, or did you have another
No.
wife in between there?
Oh, man.
You've got a lot. It's long.
Darcia is my 4th wife.
No kidding. Really?
Mhm.
You're a slumdog. Oh, hold on. Okay, I'm going to ask a general question. A general question here, because I probably have the same answer to that. Oh, now, in your divorces, do you feel like you had a lot to do with it, or it was the women that had a lot to do with it? Were you like the problem in these relationships, or was it the women? Accountability check.
Number 1, definitely me.
Okay.
Definitely me. I couldn't keep my eyes off the women.
Yeah.
I mean, I had literally gone back to the marijuana.
Yeah.
Look, I know that the Lord was protecting me even then. And I'm going to say this, and it's, thank goodness I've been out of the reserves for a long time. But even the military couldn't get me to stay off drugs.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it wasn't drugs. It was just the marijuana, but I was a constant user of that.
Yeah.
So being in the reserves is a lot different than being in the active duty. However, you still get tested. I never once had a test in the military, with the exception of the one that when I first went in, and they had asked me if I'd used marijuana, and I said, "Yeah, sure."
Did you fail it, or
high school? Well, they found traces of it, but
they passed you through?
yeah, I told them, "Yeah, man, we did a party."
Okay, so skip forward. I want to skip forward. Okay, now we know you have multiple wives and that you're Slumdog, right? We got that. I'm gonna call now, instead of calling you Lair Bear, I'm gonna call you Slumdog Lair, or Lair
Well, the
the
reason I said
Slumdog.
you can't use Larry Bear is because my aunt uses that.
Oh, okay. So now we're gonna move forward, skip forward to when you met Darcia. Now, when you met Darcia, which is your current wife, right?
What a beautiful woman.
She is very pretty. She is yes. Okay, so
I didn't have the right intent when I met her.
no. What do you mean? Like it was all visual on
my
her.
goodness, yes.
Okay, so you met Darcia.
The fortunate thing is that I still feel that way about her after 14 years.
That's good.
She is And then now her inside is more pretty than her outside.
Yeah.
And her
I haven't
outside
got
is
the
pretty
chance to
hot.
got to. My wife has got to know her a lot more than I have, but and my wife loves her. So, so you meet her. Are you still in active addiction when you meet Darcia?
No.
You're not. You weren't in active
No.
addiction.
We have to go back to wife number 2 for that.
Okay, so you're completely sober when you meet Darcia
No, I was on alcohol,
on alcohol,
but I didn't
okay.
do drugs. I had hoard drugs by that time.
Were you an alcoholic though? Were you abusing alcohol when you met Darcia?
I'm thinking that answer through because I truthfully do not feel that alcohol had that much control over me. At that time, I drank when it was opportune to drink. I did not go to work drunk.
See, that's why like all my friends told me I wasn't an alcoholic. I haven't drank in 4 years, by the way. I quit. But the reason why I think I was an alcoholic was because there was a time where right when like a year before I was trying to quit, where I would tell myself in the morning when I woke up, when I went to work or something, which I'd only drink like a 6-pack or 8-pack or drink 8 or 12 or something like that, which I mean, I guess is quite a bit. But I would wake up in the morning and be like, okay, no more. I'm never drinking again. But then I'd go drink again that night. So I feel like it had some level of control over me.
If we go back to wife number 2 briefly, she told me that I couldn't be with her if I smoked pot because her brother-in-law was a heavy-duty user and she couldn't stand it.
I could not, because of my mother.
So technically, I gave it up for love.
Because of my mother growing up and the pain that marijuana caused us, I could never be with someone that did marijuana ever.
Sometimes that's what defines us. But so my second wife and I were partiers. I mean, we were at the bar on Wednesday night. We were at the bar on Saturday night and Friday night, and all that. Of course, she had a daughter, so we didn't go as much as if we would have been. But we could take them over to her grandma's and drop her off,
Yeah.
until we settled down, actually got married, and then decided to start a family and had my third child.
Yeah.
So, but I quit marijuana for her. I mean, for love. I can say for love. Dropped it completely off.
You haven't used it since?
Nope.
Nice.
No.
Okay, so let's go back to where you met Darcy.
Not marijuana. I'll go there later.
But okay, so by the time I'm trying to cycle in. Okay, so here's what we've determined, because here's the deal. In this podcast, I don't want to go too far into our full testimonies,
Okay.
because it's going to reveal itself over time. But what I'm trying to establish with you right now
That's why I am.
is I'm
who
trying
I
to
am.
establish the fact that you have struggled with women, you struggle with lust, and you have and you struggle with alcohol or drug and alcohol abuse in the past, right? But you said alcohol, maybe not so much, right? So
Not at that time.
so now I'm trying to so when you met Darcia, were you already as in love with, well, not, okay, so it's grown, but were you already kind of starting your journey into becoming sanctified for Christ?
No.
No, you weren't?
No, I was a biker.
You were a biker. Okay.
I met her in a bar.
You met Darcia at a bar.
I saw her across the bar taking a bite of a hamburger. Fell instantly in love with her. And
Your profile picture on Facebook is still of you and her in a bar, isn't it? Or is that her
No,
Facebook?
my profile picture, I think, is that.
Okay,
Right
maybe
here at this church.
maybe is it yours and is Darcia's? 'Cause-
Darcy, am I in the OU shirt?
Yeah, is that at a bar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm in the OU shirt, then yes,
Yeah.
I should have her change it. It's been brought
Who
up
cares?
before. Well, because it's been brought up before. By
I
people.
like it. I like it that
I'm no longer a OU fan.
Really?
No.
That's weird.
Mm,
That's suspicious.
I don't watch football, but we can go into that at another time.
Okay. All right. So anyway, was Darcia a Christian at the time?
Negative.
No. Okay. So she wasn't a Christian at all. She didn't
At
believe
all,
that
no.
God, she didn't believe God existed at all.
I think she knew God existed, but her only experience as a child growing up was occasionally her dad would take her to a tent revival.
Okay.
And she occasionally went with her friend to a Baptist church that was her high school friend, and she pretty much made fun of her because she went to church.
Yeah.
But she would go to have to get away from her dad for a while.
Okay. So what I'm trying to get to is I want to get into the story now of how you became to where the guy I know right now. When did that, I want to know when you started, like when you decided to devote your life to God, you committed your life to God, and then how you became the guy I know now over the last, 6 years, you said? 5, 6 years? How did you become that guy? When did that start? And give me the origin story of that.
In about 2003, I lived with my mom while I was on the road as a truck driver, and I was in the middle of my third marriage.
Mm-hmm.
We lived there to help take care of bills. Mom was taking care of grandma. So when we were home, I had just gone through the divorce with 3, and we were still fighting all through this paperwork and stuff. And Mom said that wife number 3 and I couldn't live in the same house if we weren't married under her roof. We can do whatever we want to over here, but we're not going to do that under her roof. So we got married.
Okay.
Okay. That's wife number 3. That didn't last nearly as long because she thought she could tell Mom what to do, and that was not happening. So I went to church on Sunday with my mom at that time. Didn't really give myself over to the Lord. I still had control. Okay. But
Yeah.
I was there at the church. This is no different than when I was in high school.
Okay.
Okay. Except I was an adult and I greeted a little bit,
Okay.
I really liked the pastor at that particular time. So when wife number 3 left me, I was working in Chickasha, I was driving down between Bethany and Chickasha every day. That's like 40 miles. And I was on a bike.
Yeah.
Every day.
Wow.
Rain, snow, didn't matter. I was on a bike.
Scary.
Yeah, you go 80 miles an hour down a turnpike when it's 19 degrees outside.
Dude,
Think
no
about the wind
thanks.
chill.
No
Okay.
thanks.
Yeah, that's crazy. Through all of that was, I guess, the return, but I didn't commit. When that divorce happened, I had just started to get to know Darcia. So, yes, technically I was still married to number
3.
3 when
you
I
met Darcia.
Darcia.
Okay.
And so she knew my third wife, and my third wife knew her husband, kind of thing.
And this is here, and
yeah,
this,
we
like-
knew each other. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Through that, we kind of sort of. Her husband was building a motorcycle. Okay.
Whose husband?
I'm sorry,
Darcia's?
dear. I'm going there. Darcia's husband was building a motorcycle and was having issues with it. And so I could be close to her. I went and bought a book on how to wire a motorcycle
Uh-huh.
and went over there and gave him the book and made an agreement to go meet him on Saturday and work on this bike at his house. Because we had hung out together at the bar playing pool and whatnot. And so that wasn't a big deal. When I went over there, Darcia goes, so where is your third wife? I'm not going to use her name. And I said, I don't know. You tell me and we'll both know. Because she left on Thursday and I ain't seen her since or heard from her.
Yeah.
So here it is on Saturday morning and we're working on the bike. I was over there all day long. Darcia didn't talk to me more than a smidge. Technically, she didn't really like me. I was pretty arrogant. I was pissed off at the time, so I was kind of arrogant. And anyway, we got the bike running.
Yeah.
So that made us kind of sort of friends. She did not. The guy built a Rigid with a single seat, and he had a wife.
Man.
I had a Road King.
Yeah.
Comfortable.
Yeah.
Right?
So he's like, come on over.
I'm like, I gave Darcia a ride down the street and back.
Yeah.
And she freaking out back there. And anyway, it ended where we ran around together all the time. We were connected. She rode on my bike. He rode his bike.
Yeah.
Men, never let your woman ride behind somebody else. Period.
Right. That does sound like some sort of motorcycle code. Even I
Yeah,
can pick that up.
never let it happen.
So what ended up happening? She fell in love with you and decided she was going to leave her husband for you?
I fell in love with her.
Okay.
Her husband was already cheating on her.
Oh, okay. So it was just kind of, was it amicable or did it get pretty ugly?
Her husband kept pushing us together.
Because he was cheating on her.
Yeah.
So he was doing it on purpose, oh,
I
okay.
mean, I can see all of it now, but nobody's going to believe any of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, we were together all the time. She fell in love with me. I fell in love with her.
So it was amicable.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm still head and heels over in love with this woman.
Yeah.
But what she did was change my outlook on women. And I'm going to say it this way, that no matter how pretty my wife was, there was always other women that caught your eye. So even if I didn't cheat, like I never cheated on wife number 2. But she always accused me of cheating.
Yeah.
All the time. And now if you go with the biblical explanation of God, if you've looked on a woman with lust,
yeah,
then you have committed adultery.
That's
so,
my thing. Like
I mean, I'm there.
That's why I think that's why my wife trusts me so much, is because I'm so honest with her, because like I'm a guy and I am still attracted to other women. And a lot of people get shocked when I say that. They say, oh, what are you doing? And it's like, oh, dear God, I'm so sorry for telling the truth. Because most men probably are attracted to other women. But I will tell you another truth statement here that will probably sound shocking, but it is the truth. I'd rather die than cheat on her. Now, because that woman has been nothing but loyal to me. And am I attracted to other women? Because that's another argument I make whenever someone's like, well, like in regards to church and someone being lesbian or gay, right? And they say, well, they should be able to do whatever they want and still be in the church and stuff like that. And I was like, well, if I was some sort of leader at the church, it's like, well, they can't help that they want to have sex with other women or other men, right? They can't help that they want to. And it's like, well, okay, it should be okay for them, right? It's like, well, I want to have sex with other women, right? Is that okay? No, of course it's not okay. It's bad. That's terrible. That's terrible, right? For me. But why is it okay for them? It doesn't make sense. Like, now let me explain myself. Are
you asking me in the worldly way, or are you asking me in the biblical way? Because in the biblical way, it's all wrong.
No, it doesn't. It's not okay in society or anything for me to cheat on my wife. That would be bad. That'd be, especially if even if an atheist knew me and my wife's story and how much that woman's done for me. If I cheated on her, it doesn't matter if you believed in God or not. It would be wrong.
Yes,
it would be wrong because of what she's done. It would be wrong no matter what.
Because of her loyalship.
Any common decent person would understand that's wrong. So why is the other thing should be okay is what I'm trying to bring to. But anyway, so back to let's wrap your end of the story up. So you and Darcy ended up coming to church, because started going to church, right?
It was at the end of my mom's life.
Into your mom's life.
Yeah, my grandmother had already passed away. My mom had Alzheimer's and dementia.
Do you remember the moment that you said that like I'm gonna commit my life to God? Do you remember the moment?
The men's retreat.
On this church?
Yeah, Darcy and I started going to another church to start with.
Yeah, I remember you told me that.
And then my daughter moved back to take care of Mom at the end of her life, and she came here. And we actually knew somebody from the church that I had talked about from 2000.
Yeah.
So I came over here to try it out. I'm not going to get involved. I'm going to sit on the back row, and if Mom can, I'm going to want to take her to church, which I took her to the other church a couple of times. I ended up getting involved a lot. I ended up greeting. Because Brian actually kind of pushed me toward the greeting part, because that's what I was then, and I didn't realize the effect that it actually has on me. So I started stepping in and greeting. But the real change and the real commitment and the real dedication came after I went to a men's retreat, and I decided at that moment, I'm all in. I'm going to exchange everything that I was for the world. Because, everybody I invited to the bar, everybody I invited, come try to beat me in a game of pool, okay?
I probably could.
That wasn't arrogant. That was truth.
I probably could. We'll have to try that out.
Darcia and I have not picked up a stick since we left the bar.
So I mean,
we have sticks at the house.
I'm not that great either. So
they're sitting there. We haven't used them.
Yeah.
I don't go back to any kind of type of bar situation at all because I'm not going to go put my head back in the lion's mouth.
No, yeah.
But through that, I decided to be as loud for Christ as I am or I was for the world. And I intentionally wore this shirt here, okay?
Your camera's right there.
Yeah, I hope you can see that. That's the Harley Davidson shirt. It's one of the very few that I still own. The reason I wore it today is because God started working with me on branding, that I had branded myself. And I'm like, but I go to church, and everybody knows I go to church, and I got a motorcycle, and I started a riding group here at the church, people that were Christians, and so we didn't go to bars. We rode to places to eat. I'm a fat guy. I like to eat. But God still said that I was branded because what people see is a Harley rider.
Yeah.
Right? And I had the black Harley, the Ultra Classic, 2012, nice bike. I was on it all the time. And I had, everything I wore. If I wore orange and black, and my pastor's an OSU fan, it was mentioned several times because back then I was an OU fan. And OSU is orange and black, and I would say, no, I don't wear that orange and black. I wear the Harley Davidson orange and black, I'd point it out. But when God started working with me on the branding that I was, that they did not see a biker that goes to church. They saw, let me rephrase this. I didn't want to be known as a biker that went to church. I wanted to be known as a
godly biker.
Yeah, well, a guy that goes to church that rides a bike.
Yeah.
Well, what am I missing here? I'm missing the actual Christianity whole part of the whole thing. But I rebranded myself. If I'm wearing anything, I try to wear something that starts a conversation with somebody. And this shirt says Godfident. I'm confident in God and everything that I do. I can do nothing under my own power.
I know that's why I feel so confident that God selected you to be the co-host here, and why you stood out so loud to me is because even though there's not a single person at this church that I disagree with how they approach their relationship with God. And I mean that 100%, but not everyone here would have worked for this show. Not everyone would have worked for this show. And you were the only one that stood out to me because of what you said. You're so loud,
They call me Loud Larry here at the church.
You do have your own brand. Which isn't like your suit-wearing Christian, which that's what's needed as well, especially if we're going to be talking to atheists a lot, And you are your own guy. You're not afraid to talk, even though this is scary. I get it. This is scary talking this, but you're not afraid to talk. So, okay, so I feel like we got the basics of.
So that was about. I think it was. Let's see. September 17.
Of last year?
No, September of 2017.
Oh, gotcha.
Was when I went to the men's retreat.
Okay, so we've got the basics of where you really started becoming a Christian, and so we'll dive into me a little bit so the audience can get to know me just a little bit. I'm going to go real fast over mine because mine's pretty easy. Really, my testimony isn't that long. I wrote an email to the pastor about this because when I turned 18 years old, I had been going to church since I was a baby too, like pretty much 0 to 18, like you said. And I got saved whenever I was, I think, 7 or 8 years old. And I still have the video where I was like, I went down, pastor hands you a pamphlet, read off of it, and then everybody's bawling and happy because now I have no matter what I do, I'm eternally secure now, right? And hold on, I know I'm being facetious.
I know. I was just going to say that I probably married that as well. I gave my heart to the Lord when I was a baby as well, or, young.
I'm being facetious.
Okay, you got it.
Okay, so
Both of us.
I read off this pamphlet, and then I got baptized, and now that I'm 8, I can do whatever I want, and I'm eternally secure. That's what the message was in my church, right? Which I got to tell you, man, the people I grew up with and the leaders I had at church, I think I want to make it clear. I think they play a pivotal role on maybe laying a base or a groundwork of who I am in Christ now. But they definitely weren't teaching. Okay, so here's when I turned 18, right? I moved away and I stopped going to church, but I actually started reading the Bible for myself, and I started reading in there. I'm going, whoa, wait a minute. Like this isn't the same thing that I learned growing up. This isn't the same thing, especially in the New Testament, right? Especially starting to read in the New Testament, like I read the book of Hebrews, and I'm like, whoa, wait a second. Like this isn't good, man. Like I need to, like I'm abusing my own prescription medicine. I'm having sex with whatever female I want to, whenever I want. And I think I'm eternally secure and stuff like that. And then I start reading the Bible for myself, and I go, whoa, wait a second. Like what I'm reading out of here is I've actually got to do something, right? So then I start struggling with sin a little bit, right? But I was always half in, maybe a quarter in with God, right? I'd try to quit something, and then I was in this like workspace salvation, because even though that you do need to be sanctified in Christ, but you have to devote your life to God and follow in his plan, right? You have to follow the will of God. It still isn't you. It's not by your works that you're saved. Your works are like dirty rags. So I know that there's nothing that I did to get saved, but you still have to follow the will of God. And you still have to be led by the Holy Spirit, or you're not saved. I'll just say that right now. I'm not afraid to say it. Or you're not saved. You cannot do whatever the heck you want and expect to go up to heaven and be saved at the end of the day. It says in the Bible that the road to God is narrow.
Narrow. Very narrow.
It's narrow, and it's hard. And I left my book of life in the other pants and my other pants, and I'm still not sure if.
Say the rest of that, though.
What now?
But it's a wide road to damnation.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and so I am working out my salvation every day with God right now. That's what I'm doing. So anyway, but I had never fully committed until literally December of last year. And I tell you this, from my point of view, I wrote off churches entirely. I never was going to go to a church again. And then I dang sure wasn't going to tithe or do anything. I dang sure didn't believe in tithing, right? Well, in December, I decided to fully commit to God and I started listening to Dr. Charles Stanley. And Dr. Charles Stanley is very big on how to listen to the Holy Spirit and how to be guided by the Holy Spirit in your everyday life, walking with God in your everyday life. And so I started listening to that, and I said, there's a way to actually listen and be guided by the Holy Spirit every day. So I decided to start doing that. Well, the Holy Spirit started telling me lots of things very quickly, like things to quit and stuff, which it was very much more active talking to me than he is now. Or maybe he's not, and I'm just not listening for certain things. Like, overwhelmed me with things I needed to do right then. Made me quit nicotine gum, made me quit regular gum, made me quit kratom, made me quit testosterone replacement therapy. Made me quit a bunch of stuff that didn't make sense. But if I made that commitment, which since then he's allowed me to add a few of those medical things back in, which thank God for that, but not everything, not everything. Like there's some stuff that stays gone. And so from there, I actually, I decided to listen to it, and I listened to everything that it told me to, everything that the Holy Spirit told me to stop. I listened to everything. And then in February, Holy Spirit tells me, you're going to go to church. I was praying on my bathroom floor, by the way. That's where I used to pray. But I would actually like sneak pray. I don't know why, but I don't even know if my wife knew that I pray, but I prayed since we've known each other. Even when I didn't go to church, I'd pray in my bathroom.
So your bathroom was your prayer closet.
Yeah, but I prayed in secret. I would sometimes I'd be in there on my knees. She probably thought I was just taking a really long, number 2 or something, and What I was doing was laying on the bathroom floor and praying out to God and asking for forgiveness. Well, I've told her about some dreams and stuff. She always knew I believed in God, but I just never committed, right? Never. Well, I had committed, and I was on the bathroom floor and I was praying, and I heard very clearly from God. He was like, you need to pick a church to go to, and you need to pick it now. I was like, okay. Well, and then I came between these two churches, the church we go to now and another church. And then I put a heart next to one because I read a review about where Pastor Kevin helped a guy. The guy that was writing the review was saying that Pastor Kevin helped him find his God-given spiritual talent. And so that appealed to me greatly because, like you said, we've both been praying for a purpose from God. And that's means more to me than any dollar amount or anything I could have is I pray for purpose, right? And so I was at a job at that time, and I really started getting attacked by the devil whenever I decided to commit to going to church. And I picked this church. And God said, not only are you going to church, but you're going to tithe 10%. So God was giving me all these challenges that I said I would never do, to do right away. And so that's where we're at now. In March, I walked through the doors of this church, and I've been in here like I think I've missed, we've missed like 2 Wednesdays and we've missed like 2 Sundays since March. And I've tied 10% of every dollar we make. Now we own our own roofing company since then. We definitely struggle a lot more with our mental battles and stuff like that because the devil really attacks us. And that's why I think that we may be like super onto something because the devil really, really attacks us. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do. And if he doesn't attack you, that's because he's not worried about you.
So in full transparency, I would still consider myself maybe like a teenage Christian. And I was telling my wife this the other day. Because the way I am as a Christian kind of reminds myself of the way I was whenever I was a teenager, because in the world, I have grown up quite a bit, and there's a lot of things that I don't do anymore, but I still remember. But being a newer Christian reminds me of the way I was when I was a teenager, because I remember whenever I was a teenager, and my parents wouldn't let me do something, right? But I really wanted to do it. Well, I couldn't yell at my parents because I'd get smashed, right? I'd get thrown through a window or something. My dad was crazy, dude. Like, I couldn't do it, right? So I couldn't show my emotions like greatly to him, or I'd get beat up, you know? I mean, not like abuse. He wasn't abusive, but I would have got spanked or something, you know? I'd get disciplined, which very rightly so. I would do the same thing to my kids if they threw a fit. So I'd go up to my room and I'd put my face in a pillow and I'd scream. I'd be like, I would cuss. I would do everything. I was so mad that they wouldn't let me do what I was going to do, right? Well, I do that same thing now. Like, well, I don't go scream in a pillow, but I throw little mini fits if I don't get my way, if things don't go my way. And guess what? I think God's just showing, like, almost never gives me the way I want. Okay, first of all, God blesses me. God blesses me and makes my life easier than probably most people's, but it's never my way. It's always his way. And I throw little mini fits about it whenever I think things aren't going right. And I throw these little mini fits like I did when I was a teenager. So in full transparency, I'm not like I'm not the big grown up Christian. So don't expect me to be giving you tons of advice unless it is completely led by the Holy Spirit. Larry's a little more experienced. We do believe that this podcast is ordained by God. So we are not afraid to be stepping off into this, but we are nervous because we know that on our own power, this is going to be nothing.
Absolutely.
So we fully understand that. I've been reading books on Christian apologetics though lately, not so I can debate, but yeah. So we are going to need that's our goal, is for atheists to start coming on here. And so we're asking you, if you are an atheist, please email us at info@helpmyunbelief.org. Email us there. And we can have a phone conversation with you when we're recording the podcast or anything. And like I said, it could be anything. And I need your help too. I know you don't hang around with a bunch of atheists, but I need your help if you can find an atheist or anything. So yeah, I need your help in finding atheists to come on, because we're gonna try to have a guest on every week to tell us their story, or maybe even a prior atheist and stuff like that. Like, that's what we're wanting. And we are, if we can figure out how to get a third guy in here from our church, We're going to maybe have some of our pastoral staff on to come and talk to us, maybe some of our friends from our church and stuff like that. But I mean, I want to talk to hookers that don't believe. I want to talk to prostitutes, which I think that's the same thing. I want to talk to drug dealers. I want to talk to just the people in the world that just don't believe, or at least acting like they don't believe. Because if you're acting like you don't believe, you may not believe just because of what comes out of your mouth. Your actions is what's important, right? Amen. Faith without actions is dead.
Yes.
But I'm so excited, man, and I know you are too. And I think this is gonna be a big deal, even if one person comes to know God because of something we did.
I completely agree with that.
So, thank you, everybody, for listening, especially for you special ones that listen all the way to the end. Tell your friends about this. Share this. Like it. Whatever you could do, share this out to the world to help us get the word out. And thank you. And you will hear more of our stories as we go along. We just didn't go fully in detail today because we didn't want to have 2 hours a piece or whatever to do it.
He didn't know my story was that long, but I'm twice as old as he is.
I know there was a couple more things I wanted to dive into there, but I was like, well, we can't do that today. But thank you for listening to the whole show. And so this show is going to drop every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. And so it's going to be on whatever platform that you listen to podcasts. If it's not on the platform that you listen to, shoot me an email and I will get it on whatever platform you listen to. So anyway, thank you for listening to the Help My Unbelief podcast, and we're out. Thank you so much for listening to the Help My Unbelief podcast. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and more importantly, tune in every Tuesday at 9 a.m. for new episodes.